Hello friends, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Becky, and today we are making 4 pasta sauces and pastas that could be perfect for any weeknight dinner, that you can get dinner on your family's table really quickly and everyone is going to love them. The first pasta we're going to be making is a bacon and tomato pasta. So what we need to do first is in this skillet, we're going to cook our bacon. I will timestamp the recipes down below and also link these recipes down below if you want to try them out for yourself. So we're going to go ahead and cook that much bacon. These pasta sauces are going to come together so quickly. We need to make sure that we have our water on to boil, because the time it takes for our water to come to a boil and our pasta to cook, the sauce is going to be done. So really, really easy weeknight dinners that I think your family are all gonna really enjoy. I'm really excited about trying these recipes out and kind of expanding my skills and my repertoire of really quick pasta sauces that can be whipped together with a lot of these ingredients are pantry staples. So if you haven't been shopping in a while, you can pull a couple of those staples out of your pantry, freezers, wherever it might be, to throw together some really delicious dinners. And I'm gonna go ahead and season my water really well with salt. Stir that a little bit, get the lid on, and we're gonna prep the vegetables for the sauce. The only prep work we need to do for this sauce is wash the tomatoes, which I've already done. We're gonna use fresh cherry tomatoes for this sauce. And then I washed up some flat leaf parsley. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the leaves off this stem, and we're gonna get this chopped up, and this is the only prep we have to do for this recipe. This is some bacon that I got from a local farm, and it's very, very meaty, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's gonna be delicious in this pasta sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop up this parsley. This is going to add a nice freshness toward the end of the pasta. And then we're gonna be using cherry tomatoes, and I'm gonna leave these whole. I have found when I purchase tomatoes out of season, I get the best flavor when I purchase cherry tomatoes instead of a slicing tomato. It's February, so obviously tomatoes are not in season right now, and I can get a good tomato flavor when I use cherry tomatoes. I'm excited about this. So this is a good recipe if you want a fresh tomato pasta sauce out of season. Typically when I cook bacon, I like to cook it in the oven. Today, I purposely am choosing to cook it in the pot that I'm going to be making the sauce in, because I want all those brown bits that are gonna happen on the bottom of this pan, because that's pure flavor, and this is where we are gonna start developing the flavor for our pan sauce. This is gonna be a quick sauce that's gonna come together quickly, and by each step, using the different elements of the cooking process to increase the level of flavor. So here I have it very, very low temperature because this is such meaty bacon. It's taking a while for it to render down, but patience makes delicious food. I don't like cooking with non-stick because I want some of that to stick on there, because that's just developing flavor. If I was using a non-stick surface, I would not have as much of a depth of flavor in my final sauce than I do with this stainless steel pan. And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna release those brown bits from the bottom of the pan and just create a delicious pasta. The bacon is nice and crispy. You can definitely cook this to your preferred crispiness, and this is how we like it. Now, there isn't a ton of bacon grease on the bottom of this pan because this bacon is very, very lean, and I'm gonna just reserve all of this in the pan. It looks darker for you than it's showing up for me. And I'm gonna use here, so be very careful. This is some homemade chicken broth. I'm gonna put about a cup of that in there. And I'm going to use that chicken broth and the heat of the pan to release all those beautiful bacon drippings. I'm gonna turn the heat up now, because now we're gonna start making our sauce. Our water is boiling, so we're gonna get 8 ounces of pasta into our pot. All the brown bits have now been released from the bottom of the pan. I'm gonna add some fresh garlic that I had minced and froze. We're gonna get that thawed and sauteed a little bit in this broth. We're gonna add 1 pint of cherry tomatoes. Gonna add just a pinch of red pepper flake, maybe 2. 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. This is gonna add some richness to our sauce. 1 cup of heavy cream. 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. And we're gonna let this pasta sauce just start to come together. The key is to cook the pasta a minute or 2 less than it needs so that you can finish cooking the pasta in the pasta sauce. And I'm okay if there's some pasta water transferring from this pot into the sauce. I did not add any salt to this pasta sauce yet because there was so much salt in the pasta sauce water. I'm gonna turn this sauce back on high. I had turned it down. And I'm gonna use some of that starchy water that I put in here from the sauce to help thicken it, because there's starch in that pasta water that helps emulsify the sauce. Get our bacon in there, our Parmesan cheese. I want to do a quick taste test of the sauce before I dish it up. Now is the time I could adjust the seasonings as needed, the salt or pepper. Actually, I have not added any pepper to this. I already know that. Wow. The combination of the fresh tomatoes and the tomato paste with the savoriness and saltiness of the bacon is fantastic. So in less time that it took for the pasta to boil, we made a fantastic, fantastic dinner. This reminds me of a recipe I started making for Josh when we first got married, and it was a staple. I would make it probably every 2 weeks, and it's called tomato and onion bacon pasta. And so this is very, very reminiscent of it, except that one does not have cream and it has onions in it. And so this, I think, is gonna be a little bit more rich. And this one has the fresh tomatoes. The other one I make does not use fresh, it uses canned. And the acidity you get from a fresh cherry tomato is fantastic in this. I cannot wait to make this summer with tomatoes coming out of my garden. One more bite. I'm gonna go give Josh a taste test of this. At the end, we are gonna rank which ones we like in order. We are off to a fantastic start. This is delicious. Josh's review of that pasta is that it is a winner, and he would definitely like me to make it again. And it stacks up against the pasta, the bacon tomato pasta with onions that I normally make. It was so good. So we are off to a good start. The next recipe we're gonna be making is orchetti. We're gonna do a sausage broccoli orchetti. If I'm saying, I could be saying that incorrectly. So I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that pasta. So I've got water on a boil for our pasta. Now I'm gonna get some sausage cooking. I have a ½ pound of Italian sausage I'm gonna get cooking in this pan. And again, this recipe is gonna come together in less time than it takes for our pasta to cook. Okay, I'm gonna let this cook while we prep the vegetables. I have 1 head of broccoli here, which is about a pound of broccoli, and I'm gonna cut this into pretty small florets because I want it about bite size as the pasta. So this is the pasta we are making, and they look like little hats. So I'm gonna cut these even smaller. I haven't made this in years. The first time I ever made this recipe, I think I was in high school. My sister and I used to cook all the time, and we would text each other recipes, and we would text each other, you know, do you want to make this for dinner? Do you want to make this for dinner? And this was the first recipe that we ever cooked out of a magazine. I don't know about you, but I love looking at cooking magazines, not as much now, but I used to. And for years, we would look at them and never cooked a single recipe out of a magazine. And this, I'm pretty sure, sausage, broccoli, and orchetti was the first recipe I ever cooked out of a magazine. And probably one of the last. Okay, I definitely use recipes from the internet, Pinterest, blogs, and things like that more than magazines. So that's all the prep work we had to do. I've got some chicken broth here, some Parmesan cheese, our pasta, and already some pre-diced up garlic. So I don't even have to dice up garlic. Now we're just waiting for our sausage to cook. This is not that exact recipe I made out of that magazine. I just found one online that looked very similar. And I want to dice up this sausage to about the same size as the broccoli and pasta. Again, you can see we're looking for browning. Our sausage has a nice browned color to it. We have some browning on the bottom of our pot. My sausage is very lean, and so I need to add some fat back in, so I'm gonna add some butter and a little bit of olive oil. This oil and butter is the base of our sauce for this pasta. Now that I've added those, I'm gonna add my garlic, and we're gonna saute this for just about a minute. Once I can smell that garlic, which is right about now, and our butter is melted, I'm gonna add our broccoli, and we're gonna saute the broccoli. To our broccoli, we're gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of red pepper, and now we're gonna add chicken broth. We're gonna use the chicken broth again to scrape up the brown bits on the bottom of the pan, and this is what's gonna help build our sauce. It already smells fantastic. A lot of these recipes are pretty simple, so I'm trying to use the highest quality ingredients I can so that that final flavor comes through in the final dish. So this was some homemade chicken broth that I made up last night. I had it simmering on my stove all night long so that we could use chicken broth. I normally have chicken broth on hand, but I was running low, so I went ahead and just made up a pot of chicken broth because I knew that I want really flavorful broth because that's the base and backbone of our pasta sauces today. Again, we are almost done with our sauce. And in the time that this cooks, our sauce will be done, and we are gonna have another fantastic and easy dinner that could be perfect for a weeknight on a busy Tuesday or fancy enough to have friends over with. Our pasta, again, has about a minute or so left in the cooking process, and we're gonna finish that cooking process in with the pasta sauce. I'm not going to pour out this water until our pasta is done. That's why I'm using this spider, because we might need some of it to help emulsify our sauce or thin our sauce out. To this, I'm gonna add Pecorino Romano. We're gonna mix all this together and let this sauce come together and finish cooking. It doesn't look like we need any more liquid. It just needs to reduce and coat those noodles. While this is cooking away, I'm gonna taste the sauce for salt and pepper. Oh my goodness, that's perfect. It doesn't need any salt. Maybe just a touch more black pepper. It's kind of one of the main flavors of this dish. The sauce is perfectly silky, so now we can go ahead and give this a taste test. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the stove off and get a little bit of broccoli and sausage along with our pasta. Make sure we get a little bit of that sauce in there. Here we go. We'll see if this tastes like I remember. The last time I made it was the first time I made it. That was probably 15 years ago. But every time I'm at the store and I see the little orchetti, I think, oh, I should make that again. That was really, really good. I think broccoli and sausage and pasta just go so well together. Perfectly seasoned, cozy, comforting, easy, delicious. Everything you would want for a yummy dinner on any weekday night. I'm gonna have one more bite, and then we're gonna have Josh give this a taste test, and then we'll get ready for our next pasta. Josh is a big fan of this one. He's never had anything like this. He doesn't remember. And the one thing I really like about a dish like this is it's a one-pot dinner. You've got your broccoli, your pasta, your meat all in one, which is awesome. Now this next recipe is one that I have seen go around online for probably the last year or so, and I've been wanting to try it, and we're gonna try it together, and I'm pretty excited about it. And this next recipe that we're gonna be making is called Marry Me Chicken. And the first thing I'm gonna do to 2 chicken breasts, these are kind of smaller chicken breasts, is I'm gonna cut them in half so that they're even thinner, so they cook up nicely and we can season them really well before we sear them in our pot, and we get lots of yummy, good flavor on them. I'm just gonna slice them right down lengthwise. We're gonna sear our chicken and make our sauce in this pan, just like we've been doing. So I've got a pat of butter and some olive oil here. We're gonna let this pan heat up before we add our chicken. So to our chicken, I'm gonna add some of my seasoned salt. When I was looking at the recipe, a lot of the same ingredients are in my seasoned salt. So instead of grabbing out a bunch of different spices, this has paprika and garlic and onions and salt and pepper and some parsley. And we're gonna get this into our hot oil. Obviously, the first 3 of these recipes we're making today are not vegetarian, but the final recipe we're gonna be making is going to be a vegetarian pasta, and I'm really looking forward to it as well. So far, they've just been getting better and better. So here I've got some sun-dried tomatoes. I'm gonna get these sun-dried tomatoes out on my cutting board, and I'm just gonna run a knife through them. These ones are pretty chopped pretty well, but I want them just a little bit smaller. And this is the secret ingredient or the key ingredient in Marry Me Chicken. And I think that's as much chopping as I'm gonna do. I do need to chop up some basil, but I wanna do this at the very end so that it doesn't turn brown on me. Three of our 4 pieces of chicken are done, so I'm gonna get these out and let these rest for a few minutes. This one has a couple more minutes left, and then we'll get it out, and then we can actually make our pasta sauce in this pan. It's cooked. We're a little bit too dark for my liking. So what we're gonna do now is, now that there's no oil or anything in this pan, I'm actually gonna use some of the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes and get that in there. And we're gonna add some butter for flavor, along with our garlic. We're gonna saute that for a minute. This smells so incredible. Now that our garlic is cooked, I'm gonna add some chicken broth and a cup of cream. And we're gonna let this cook together. I need to season my sauce with some salt, good amount of black pepper, our chopped sun-dried tomatoes. This is what makes it Marry Me Chicken. Stir that together. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but our pasta is not fully cooked, and that's what we want, because we want to finish cooking it in our not fully cooked pasta sauce so that they can marry the flavors together. The little bit of starch water that's ending up in there is going to help emulsify our sauce. You could add spinach at this point. There's a lot of different things you can do. You can see the sauce is still pretty thin, and our noodles are still a little on the more al dente side than I want, but that's perfect. This is going to come together right in here. I decided it needed a few more sun-dried tomatoes, so I just added a few more in there. And our sauce is starting to thicken up and coat our noodles like we want. This will help thicken up our pasta sauce as well. I'm going to turn the stove down a little bit, stir that in there. That was Parmesan cheese. Now I'm going to slice the chicken pretty thin. And this is how it becomes the pasta marry me chicken, or marry me chicken pasta. It rested for a few minutes, which is what we want. And then I've got my basil here that's all prepped and ready to go. I just need to get that chopped up as well. Basil you want to chop right at the very end before you're going to serve it, because it does tend to turn brown a little bit. The sauce has thickened up nicely. It's coating the pasta beautifully. I just added our chicken to this pasta, and I'm stirring it together so that this sauce can coat that chicken and it can all be cheesy and delicious. Now we're going to top the whole thing with this beautiful fresh basil, and that is yet another dinner done in less time basically than it took to cook the pasta. So super easy. Let's give this a try. It has a lot of the same ingredients as the first recipe we made, except instead of fresh tomatoes, we're using sun-dried, and instead of using bacon, we're using chicken. So I'm curious to see how different of a flavor profile it's going to taste based on kind of those two main swaps for ingredients. I didn't really realize how similar they were until I just made them. I want to get some chicken and some basil and a noodle in my bowl. I'm going to give this third recipe a taste. I have a perfect bite. I have a noodle, a piece of chicken, a sun-dried tomato, and a nice little piece of basil. I thought before I tasted this that the first recipe we tasted was going to be more savory because of the bacon, the smoky bacon. This is so incredibly savory and umami, and it's because that sun-dried tomatoes are just so rich and flavorful. That is delicious, and it does have a very different flavor profile. Surprisingly, I mean, it makes sense. They are different ingredients, but compared to the first recipe we did. Now this next one we're doing is very, very different. It's lemon caper pasta, and it's a vegetarian one, and it sounds so refreshing on a hot summer day, like when you want pasta and it's hot outside. This might be the recipe for you. Now I am gonna go give Josh a bowl of this to give him a little taste test, and at the end, again, we're gonna rank them from our favorite to, they're all gonna be delicious, but which one is our favorite, and in order of that. I have everything out for our final pasta, and Josh really liked that last one a lot. And so I'm really excited to have all four of them completed, tasted, so that we can then decide which ones were our favorite, because Josh and I right now are not on the same page. So this is a vegetarian pasta, and so we are going to take a minute to add something crunchy on the top. So what I've got in this pan is a little pat of butter, and I'm gonna add just a little bit of oil to this because we are gonna create a crunchy topping to go on the top. So even though it's vegetarian, there's gonna be a nice little crunchy element, which is gonna be some crunchy breadcrumbs. So I think I'm gonna let that butter melt fully before, I really wanna put this breadcrumbs in it now, but I think it'll toast up better if we have this butter fully melted before we go ahead and sprinkle our breadcrumbs in. And again, this pasta is gonna come together in the amount of time it takes for our water to come to a boil and for us to cook our pasta. I do want to season my breadcrumbs, so I'm gonna put just a little pinch of salt in there, a little bit of black pepper, and some garlic powder. And I'm just gonna let these sit here until they toast. You see how they're starting to toast over here? While these are toasting, we can get some of our other elements of our pasta ready to go. And those are these ingredients right here. So this is basically the flavor profile of our final pasta. I do not want to venture too far from these breadcrumbs, so that's why I brought the cutting board over here. So I'm going to keep a close eye on them, and I'm just going to go ahead and prep some of this parsley. I have quite a bit of parsley here. So I'm going to turn this stove off and let the residual heat finish toasting those breadcrumbs. Okay, so these are done. So I need to get these off this pan so they don't continue to cook. To these hot breadcrumbs, I'm gonna zest 1 lemon, and this lemon will use the juice in just a little bit. And toss that lemon zest in those toasted buttered breadcrumbs. Now we're gonna start actually building our sauce. So I have some garlic frozen pucks here. While the butter is hot, I'm gonna add a few pinches of red pepper flakes and a whole jar of capers, the juice of 1 whole lemon, and I'm turning the heat off because our pasta's not quite done yet and I don't want the garlic to cook anymore. I can already tell I'm gonna really like this. I love capers and I definitely do not use them enough in my cooking. And this just makes an easy pantry meal. Now, the sauce is mostly just butter and oil, garlic and capers. And if I was to add just plain water to that, it wouldn't emulsify. But because one of the ingredients in the sauce is this pasta water, it's got all the starch from the pasta in it. That's gonna help emulsify our sauce when we go to add this sauce into our butter, oil, caper mixture. And I say all that, I have never actually made a pasta sauce like this before. I have just seen it online a bunch and in cooking videos on the Food Network, so we're gonna give it a shot. So I'm gonna slowly add my pasta water to this. I have this turned back on high because our noodles are almost done. And again, we are going to finish cooking our pasta in this sauce. And I'm trying not to smash the capers. It most definitely smells incredible. I'm gonna turn this pot off. I'm gonna just taste the sauce for salt and pepper, see if it needs any. Perfect. I'm gonna douse this with our fresh parsley, Parmesan cheese, Now it's time to dish this up for Josh and I to give this a little taste test. One bowl. I've never made a pasta like this before, so I'm curious to see what Josh thinks of it. Second bowl. We have our crunchy breadcrumbs. We're gonna go ahead and sprinkle those on the top. There is a pizza place that we used to go to. I don't think it exists anymore. I don't think it made it through 2020, but they had a Caesar salad, a chopped Caesar salad, and they would put, instead of croutons, crunchy toasted buttery breadcrumbs. And I've never made this before, but this brought me back to that pizza place and that salad, because the salad was fantastic. So let me get Josh so he can do a taste test for us. Josh is here and he's gonna come do a taste test. So here's your fork. And I'm really curious to think what you think of this. This is lemon caper pasta with buttered toasted breadcrumbs on the top.
It smells really lemony. It looks very, very, very appealing.
It might be hot because it was just done. I'm curious to know what you think about the breadcrumbs. Oh, crunchy.
They're crunchy breadcrumbs. It's good. It's got a good lemon to it.
Is it good?
Capers are great.
There's no cream in it. There is Parmesan cheese though.
Yeah, it's very light and simple.
I thought it might be
simple. I'm sure it wasn't.
It was actually very easy. I thought that this would be a good summer pasta because it's kind of light, but I have to try it too.
Yeah, the breadcrumbs are great. Normally they aren't as crispy as this.
Mmm.
Got a little kick to it too. I have a weak mouth, but what is that?
It's red pepper flakes.
Yeah.
That is so, oh yeah, it does have some heat to it, doesn't it? That is so good. That is so light. Wow. Very simple, but complex at the same time. Okay, so I want to ask you, Josh. Oh, he just took another bite. It must be pretty good. I want to take one more bite and then we're gonna rank these pastas 1 through 4. So Josh, to recap the 4 recipes that I made today, the first one was the bacon pasta with tomato bacon. The second one was the orchetti with sausage and broccoli. The third one was Marry Me Chicken with chicken. And the fourth one was obviously the lemon caper with Parmesan cheese.
So for me, the third one, the Marry Me Chicken, was the winner. They were all very good, just to be clear, but that one was good. I did say I will to that. I think second would probably be the broccoli sausage.
Orchetti?
Orchetti.
We're probably not saying that correctly. So Josh had mentioned when he tried it, he really liked the savoriness, the umami that the Marry Me Chicken had because of all the sun-dried tomatoes. Yeah,
for sure. But I would say second is probably tied with the lemon
really?
caper. Yeah, I like that because it was different, very different.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong, I love the bacon tomato as well. That was good.
Wow, I'm surprised. So that one was number 4. Even though they all were super delicious, I'm surprised that you would tie this for number 2. That would be good with some like grilled chicken. So in the summer, if I make this, I will throw some chicken on the grill and have that as, this is kind of like a side dish instead of a main dish.
If it was a side, that'd be great.
Well, friend, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me as we made 4 pasta dishes today. I will link these recipes down in the description box below. They were all brand new to me. First time, other than the orchetti one that I've kind of made, but it was probably 15 years ago I made something like that. So thank you for being here. If you want to watch some of my other videos here, I can pop them right here if you need more dinner inspiration. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.